Leader Within by Craig Martell. Narrated by Chris Abernathy. Introduction. Who am I to write a book on leadership? Nobody. Somebody. Just like you. Leadership is inside you, not outside. It's not a mask you wear. Being a lighthouse on a stormy night doesn't take heroics. It only takes surviving the storm to show the light for those who are lost. Leadership is hard like that. Simple in words, not so easy in execution. It never is. Why are there people you wouldn't follow, not even out of curiosity? You know who they are. Don't let that leader be you. The more you command, the less you lead. Be the beacon and show the way. I've been in leadership positions throughout my life, but too often I didn't fill the role. Not until I fully embraced the understanding that it wasn't about me. That was when I started to make a difference. When your time comes, will you rise to the challenge? If you're already in a leadership position, can you do better for your people? This book is filled with snippets and anecdotes that will hopefully help you on your journey to be a better leader. We can all improve. Take the first step and keep going. It's like building a pyramid, but you'll never reach the top because the power is in building and growing, not in placing that last brick. The top is a place to stand where you can reach higher. I'm not going to belabor any points in this book. Why would I? To impress you with my wisdom? This is the philosophy I've learned the hard way, by making lots of mistakes. This is a journey from bad to good to making a difference in people's lives. The epitome of leadership is when the people you're responsible for make it to their goals. You don't need to be up there. You only need to help them see the way and encourage them to go. They will, and they'll be better for it. So will you. This book will be a little motivation and a little inspiration. There are things to think about on your journey and actual things I did on mine to deliver the results my team had to get. What is your purpose? Desired leadership mindset. Know why you're doing it. The decision to be a leader isn't yours to make. Sometimes you get promoted into a position where you have to lead. Other times it's because a job has to be done. Sometimes you want it, other times you don't. It's like a marriage, for better or worse. Leadership fills a void. You do what must be done, and then you decide to do it better. People start looking to you. You're where the buck stops. That's where leadership is found. Not all leadership starts with good. Bad leaders get called a lot of names other than bad leader. No one gets up in the morning and says, "Today I think I'll be a leader." Maybe narcissists think that, but they wouldn't pick up a book like this since they already have the answers. If you know you're a narcissist, please return this book for a full refund. There's nothing here for you. Everyone else, keep reading. A phrase I often use is a quote from John F. Kennedy. A rising tide lifts all boats. For leaders, it is the ultimate truism. Everyone needs to rise together. Standing on someone else's back may help you over the wall of a prison, but you're leaving people behind, people who helped you reach a goal. That's not the way to do it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You have to bring the whole team with you to that better place, or it's not worth the trip. Remember, you win together. Even if there's strife, you can't be demeaning. Tearing someone down never makes you better. Leadership isn't a game of buzzword bingo, leveraging synergy to maximize core competencies. Leadership is about helping people become more than they are. It's about satisfying mutual needs. It's about successes, both great and small. That's the big secret to leadership. It's not about you. You will practice the best leadership when you look outside yourself. Helping others is a good cause regardless of what you get out of it. Helping others with a focus on how it can be mutually beneficial is getting closer because you both have a greater commitment to what you're doing. They call it Buy-in. When everyone on the team has it, magic happens. When you accomplish a shared goal but celebrate the other person's role when you reach those goals, you'll feel different about the end result. How does it make you feel when you celebrate others' successes as much as your own? Enjoy their happiness. When you are sincere in your gratitude, people will want to work for you. People will want to help you. Make it about them by showing them what great looks like. Imagine yourself pointing at the goal and everyone looking at it, together. Don't think of yourself as being out front, pulling them after you. That might have worked in the Marine Corps, but waving your arm for everyone to follow you has no power in the private sector unless your people believe in the goal. Leading by example isn't standing out front either. It's about grabbing the rope and starting to pull. If the others believe it needs to be done, they'll join you. If they don't, it's time to reframe the need. Help them share the goal. Stand together, side by side, and show them why it's important to them. You might ask about the difference between a manager and a leader. A leader inspires. A manager handles the daily grind and is more a slave to process than a visionary. I used to be an outstanding manager. Then I got a clue. It's not about me and the technical details of making a project happen. It's about getting people excited to participate, even if it seems mundane. Some work only requires managers, those people who oversee that everything is done the same way, day in, day out. If you want to inject life into the process, encourage a few of your employees to set up a party for the team on the company dime on company time. You'll see ingenuity and excitement, a celebration for something that matters, prepared by those who believe. Become more than a manager who checks boxes while making sure everyone stays in theirs, nothing more. That's what managers will give you. You might find an inspirational leader who isn't in a position of authority, but they are still leading. What are they doing differently? They aren't managing. They are showing people a better side of life. They are changing attitudes, because that's what leaders do. You'll hear in the following chapters that I reference authors a fair bit, but that's because my current role is leading a group of nearly 50,000 authors. This book is for everyone in a leadership role. Everyone has the opportunity to inspire and achieve things together that you would never be able to accomplish alone. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts, because that's what great leaders do. Vision. Desired leadership mindset. Help others see your vision. Great leaders have great vision, even if that vision seems simple. If it unites a group toward a single purpose, it is great, no matter whether it is complex. A group's vision goes to the core of its existence. With too many tendrils, the vision loses clarity. The group members lose focus. Here's a secret. You can only have a single number one priority. When goals conflict, different people will make different decisions. The organization gets pulled in more than one direction. Take this, for example, the safe production of dynamite. Dynamite can be produced safely. Can an employee stop the production line if they see an unsafe condition? The answer better be yes. If a leader waffles about it, even for an instant, how do you think that an employee is going to feel? They're going to have doubts. The leader has created a dichotomy. Without consistent reinforcement of a single vision, one employee might push through, and another will risk stopping the line. Dissenting voices, cracks in the armor. Don't let it happen to you. Be clear and consistent. A good vision helps your people stay on track without second-guessing themselves. Michael Anderle started 20 Books to 50K with two premises: don't be a dick and no self-promotion. After a year, I took over the leadership of the group. We had 5,000 members at the time. As of today, we're closing in on 50,000. The rules remain the same, but we needed to refine how people saw the group to keep our conversations on topic. This is the group motto now: the business of being a self-published author. It keeps us away from distractions and detractors. Success breeds an odd type of person. There are those who want to tear down something that is working. There are trolls who can't believe someone else can be successful, especially if the troll has tried and failed. You're just lucky. I'm sure you've heard it before. I heard it just yesterday when a person made a litany of excuses for why their books weren't selling. I'm an artist. I don't care about the money. Michelangelo was an artist too, maybe the best the world has ever known, and he was paid for his work. Artists get paid to produce art. Otherwise, you're an amateur. Don't join a business group to attack the premise that artists deserve to make money from their work. That's a person trying to tear down what someone else has built. Their goal is not my goal. Have a vision your people can buy into. Call it leader marketing because it's a leader's reality. You, as the leader, are charting the course. Your people are implementing it. If you're getting frustrated with the implementation or if you have to explain it, then it's not a good vision. Think of Napoleon's corporal. He would explain his battle plan to a corporal who would recite it back. If the corporal understood it, Napoleon had confidence that it would be implemented as intended. He didn't have instantaneous communication, so he needed to establish the framework within which his people operated. With training before the battles, Napoleon's army was ready and successful on a military level. To conquer a thing, we have to know the thing. Amateurs talk tactics, and professionals talk logistics. You have to be able to implement your good ideas. The business of being a self-published author. That is how we framed the biggest self-publishing group in the world. We stayed focused on a digestible purpose. It was how we grew tenfold and more. Being the talent, being the chief of marketing, being the back-end technical support and head of administration. All of it, but with the single goal of bringing your books to more and more people willing to pay money for them. That was a cause everyone could rally around. From the Marines to the corner office to a self-publishing empire that works with other authors to help them realize the most value from their words. The vision, the business of being a self-published author. If your self-publishing business isn't important or not a business, you're in the wrong place. Eliminate the distractions. I demand a lot from myself. I feel like I have to show the way. If someone asks, I need to have first-hand knowledge. I'll show them what's possible. I'll show them the steps it takes. How they take those steps is up to them. I learned that lesson in the Marine Corps too. Don't ask your people to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. Vision is what sets leaders apart from managers. But how do great leaders find their vision? Maybe they see it in a dream, or when they're thinking of something else, or through trial and error when other visions fail, or someone shoots holes in them. A vision is the tracks down which your train rolls. It provides for the smooth operation of your team. Safe production of dynamite. That's fairly weak, but it should suffice to guide all manner of what happens in the plant. The business of being a self-published author. It keeps the train rolling. Steve Jobs' vision was a computer for the rest of us. It guided the company through ups and downs and to atmospheric in its growth when that computer became your phone. That computer became a small device that contained all the music you owned. Steve Jobs had other visions too. Change the world. Technology that people can use. It all came together. Vision is inspirational. What inspired you to do what you're doing? What will keep inspiring you? Take that and carry it over to the business or your team. Your business doesn't have a vision? Create one and embrace it. A computer for the rest of us. Beautifully simple, yet profound. Are you building a playground for your homeowners association? A place for our children to play. It need not be more complex than that. It should not be. You don't need to outdo the playground of the next neighborhood over. Comparisonitis is the thief of joy. Do right by you and your team. When the pandemic started to rage, people began to flail. A calming voice is the lighthouse with the beacon. That was what we provided in our group. This was my message to them on March 21st, 2020. He who shows a case of ass during this crisis will suffer mightily. Even if you aren't calm, you must project it. Your readers, even if you only have 10, will rally around a voice of reason. The only thing you can control is your reaction to events. Make sure that when the dust settles, you aren't embarrassed at what you said. Hoarders? Who is to determine that? Is that person handicapped who is parked in the slot? None of that is your call. What if someone bought toilet paper for their neighborhood of oldsters? 10 packs going to 10 different couples. Yet the Good Samaritan would suffer under the withering glares of judgment. We don't allow conversations about others' work in here. I may not like 50 Shades of Grey, but 125 million sales suggest I'm not the target audience. What I think doesn't matter. Eyes on your own paper. I listen to input regarding my writing from people whose opinions I value, and I adjust accordingly. There are angry people out there, depressed folks, bargainers, those living in denial, and others who seem to take it all in stride. Those are the 5 stages of grief. Allow yourself to go through them. Reach out to your closest friends and talk through your pain. But recognize what it is. When online, be the rallying point for friends, family, and fans. Don't be that guy who is screaming into the wind on a video that goes viral. Nerves are frayed. Look outward, not inward. It is the armor by which every Marine shields himself. I can't be wasting time with no stages of grief. Jump right to the end and move on. Here's a secret. I'm not immune. My dog passed away in January and took a part of my soul with her. My heart is permanently damaged, too, as I discovered from my heart surgery only 3 days later. No one can do anything about that. It is my issue to deal with while the world continues to turn, and turn it will, regardless of whether I'm there or not. Choose to turn with it. Authors understand what it's like to work alone. Help your family and friends who are not. If you believe that you need to be there for them more than they need you, you will do just fine, and you'll find out that you have as much support as you will ever want. Helping others is one of the greatest things you can do to help yourself. Do you launch or not? Are your sales down? What do I do? Keep a cool head and carry on, inside, from the sanctity of your own home. You have a business to run, so run it. Create new content, and then sell the shit out of it. That's what you do. And there is a massive buffet of things to try right here in 20 books to 50K. Some may work better than others, but doing nothing for your business will get you nothing. Make the money now while people are inside, because when the doors open again, people are leaving and may not read as much then as they are over the next couple months. Be the rising tide. Be the lifeline that others can reach for. And manage your business. You're an indie. You've written a book, and that means you are a stalwart soul. And that leads us to goals. Above, I set the vision for what I thought was a short-term effort. But as I write this book a year later, the trials and tribulations of 2020 continue. But we still have our businesses to run, and our businesses need us to run them. Adjust and keep moving forward while staying true to your vision. That is what will keep you above the noise of distraction. Whether you are a leader of one to a leader of many, establish your vision and stay the course. The goal. Desired leadership mindset. Clearly articulate the goal. There's a book with that name, The Goal by Eliyahu M. Goldratt. It talks about a factory process and the theory of constraints written in a story-like narrative. The main point is to have the right goal. You're in charge. Now what? You were put in charge for a reason. Whether it's the kids' annual school fundraiser or refurbishing your factory line, you have to know what the goal looks like, and you have to know it well enough to articulate it easily. Begin with the end in mind. What does success look like? That is your starting point and your end point. It is easiest to articulate where you're going because you've already been there, at least in your mind's eye. Everyone on your team needs to marry their goals to the vision and your project team mission goal. The individual goals are the building blocks for the group goal. If your goal is to build a playground, individual team member goals could be to secure the heavy construction equipment to prepare the ground, buy the playground equipment and have it delivered, rally the construction volunteers with the right tools, determine the layout, prepare lunch for the team, and more. If you have done any project management, I guarantee you that you have, this will be obvious. Individual goals are the building blocks of the project. As your projects become more advanced, like increasing the number of widgets produced by your line at the factory, individual goals look more like a Kaizen process improvement event. How can you work faster without working harder? It's not about working faster. It's about producing more product of acceptable quality. To reach your goal, what if you could streamline the parts management process to make sure everything you need to do your job is within easy reach? The process it takes to reach your goal is one small gear in a much bigger machine. You can accomplish your job without working as hard at it because you've streamlined your range of motion. This is where we all fit. Buy into the vision, build the goals, deliver, and do it again. Without individual steps between where you are and where you want to go, the project is wishful thinking. That is a goal without a plan. If hope is your plan, you have a lousy plan. You need to do better by the people who are counting on you. You're in charge. You don't have time to be watching the grass grow. You need to detail the steps between here and there. Imagine trying to drive your car if you could only see a car length ahead. That's exactly what it's like if you don't keep your goal in view. It's what micromanaging looks like. Pretty soon, you're off course, and it'll be your fault. The steps might deviate, but every step you take should get you one step closer. If you feel like you're spinning your wheels, you are. If you feel like you're taking baby steps, you are, but those are okay. Enough of those, and you'll get where you're going. Work smarter, not harder, to get to the goal. But you might find that there are no shortcuts. If there is a better way, your people will help you find it. You don't need to take credit for it. Reaching the goal together is why you're in charge. It has to be we working for our plan. That is how you reach your goal. If you're marching forward smartly but your goal is getting fuzzy, it's probably best to stop until you can clearly see your goal once again. Sometimes you need to change your goal, but think long and hard about why. If your answer is, "It makes me look better," it's not a good goal. How much extra work does it take to hit a different goal? Beginning with the end in mind is the perfect setup for realizing the best target for your group. Let me give you some examples. In the Marine Corps, we weren't given such pedestrian orders as "take that hill." That's not a mission-oriented goal that can adjust to a changing situation. We were given better orders like "deny enemy access," which afforded the small unit leaders a chance to exercise their initiative to meet the bigger goal of winning the battle and winning the war. I hope no one is shooting at you during your inexorable march toward your goal. That should make it a little easier. When COVID-19 hit the world, I was running the 20 Books to 50K Facebook group. We had some 44,000 members, all authors, either established or budding. When people had to stay home, it threw a large number of lives into turmoil. Some were able to leverage the time to improve their author business, while others now had children at home to homeschool, eating up time the author had been using to manage their business. What kind of goal made sense to help the most people stay on track with their businesses? A mutual goal of getting to the other side without any pressure to produce. We held online sessions about revising goals. If people couldn't get their heads into a healthy writing space, we gave them a productive distraction. I started a daily hour-long talk show and interviewed 50 or 60 different people over the course of 3 months to bolster information resources. I gave away my nonfiction indie, self-published author books for free. I gave away hundreds of audiobooks. I also donated money to authors in need. That started a groundswell with established authors sending me donations that I turned around. I started with $1,000, and after 2 weeks, I gave out nearly $24,000 to authors around the world. We did that again in December with a comparable result. When 2020 ended, I'd received $45,000 in donations and paid out over $50,000 in grants to more than 250 people in need. We did a lot of work to help people just make it to tomorrow. Sometimes a loose goal makes the most sense. Other times, like when I worked as a business consultant, we needed to increase production by a target amount. This was where we excelled. Study the processes for 1 to 3 months to identify the bottlenecks and opportunities. Leverage success. The production increase was something we talked about in executive meetings, but when the engine is hitting on all 8 cylinders, the speed comes as a byproduct and not as a goal in and of itself. It's like magic when the individual's goals align with the team's goals. Those smaller goals made all the difference. We shared the overall production numbers with the frontline personnel to show them that what they did mattered, and we listened to them because they knew how to improve the processes. Here's a business axiom to keep in mind when you are looking for answers to problems. The ones closest to the action are in the best position to see what's going wrong and what is going right. Sounds like the Marine Corps. Put that checkbook away. There's more. If you've ever heard of SMART goals, they start with these. They are the bite-sized parts of the goal pie. Specific, exactly what is deliverable. Measurable, with a number that can be measured. Achievable, it has to be doable. Relevant, it has to apply to a bigger goal and ultimately the vision. Timely, when you need to reach the goal. Goals help you focus your energy. From a leadership standpoint, your people develop their own goals, which feed into the greater goal. Everyone wins. But what if there's too much turbulence in the system? Slow down. Ask your people why, and start looking at how to remove the obstacles. A framework within which someone operates is not constraining. It's a necessity that levels the playing field for the spectacular to stand out. Look for great ideas that don't require a restructuring to implement. Risk versus reward demands a more calculated approach, which means scrutiny. Pick the low-hanging fruit first. You'll find plenty of that. Those are the low-cost, high-impact process improvement opportunities. Scrutinize the framework within which the team operates and the vision that guides them. A process can always be improved, always. Look at the pit crews in professional racing. Tenths of seconds make a difference. They train and equip themselves to get tasks done faster with greater consistency. There's no reason your team can't explore efficiencies in processes. Ask them. They will know better than you. That's what the Kaizen process is all about. Lean your process to eliminate waste. They are the formal approaches to realizing greater levels of efficiency. People have made careers and fortunes out of improving efficiency, and businesses have improved their bottom line. Investors and employees alike benefit when the company increases its profitability. Big ideas lead to the small processes that make them viable. Clean out the pipes and let the engine run. What does that have to do with goals? We started by talking about the right goal that you and your people are trying to reach. Can a single line worker improve a plant's production by 10%? Probably not, and such a goal could be overwhelming. But everyone on the line working on little things in their control? That could deliver a monumental change. You are the plant manager. How does your goal equal their goal? Give them a mission-type order. Turn them into more than workers just punching the clock. Help them become employees who are engaged in delivering at a higher level. That's good consultant speak. Set the right goals. From small to large, from personal to group, all of them driving toward a single point in the distance. A point that you can see getting closer. Hitting each milestone toward your goal is worthy of celebration. Every project requires a project plan, but not every plan needs to be extensive. The lighthouse. Desired leadership mindset. Stand firm against the storm to show the way. As the leader, you are the beacon around which your people must rally. In the darkness of confusion and change, You are the light. During the pandemic months of 2020, my greatest efforts focused on providing a sanctuary for those whose lives were turned upside down. Somebody has to be positive, and not by giving false hope, but by showing what is possible. Like a flashlight in the darkness shows you what's there. Exactly like that. Act, don't react. The lighthouse doesn't wait for the storm. It shines whenever the sun isn't out. Act with purpose. Act with intentionality. By keeping your vision foremost in your mind. Reacting creates the conditions where you lose focus. Bring the attention back through your vision to the goal and help the team stay on track, even if it means ignoring the storm. The storm is there regardless. Falling prey to it accomplishes nothing. Don't be its victim. Take charge of your destiny. The end of negativity comes when we stop criticizing others, comparing ourselves to others, and judging. Life begins when we see the good inside, learning from others to do for ourselves, and knowing ourselves, helping others see the colors of this world and embrace its beauty. Being positive is a choice. Make the best decision for yourself, your sanity, and your business. Here's a message I sent to the group in October of 2020. Authors' self-care and addressing the trauma of 2020. Under a gibbous moon, in the darkness of a winter sky, the stars are as radiant as ever. Everything changes while also staying the same. Our role is small, but small is big when the impact is magnified from one to another. When I feel down, I do something for someone else because no matter what, there's always someone out there who is worse off, no matter how bad things are. With loss comes the challenge of dealing with it. We all have emotions. Events affect us differently based on the experiences of our lives. Know yourself and what that means. Recognize that others will not respond as you do. Be kind to them. They're different from you. We're all the same in that we're different. We're all the same in that we need purpose. Maybe your purpose is to help just one other person. But you're an author. Authors have the ability to help so many more through their words, whether they are words to help someone escape, threads to help one stay alive in hospice just to read the next story because they have to know before they go, or education to help people understand and better improve their lives. Your influence far outsizes a single person staring at a blank page that begs to be the embodiment of what's in your mind. No one knows what the future holds except that it will be different, just like 2020 was different from all other years, like 2021 will be different. How can you get ahead? Stay in front of the curve in order to provide for your family? Flex more quickly when the world changes. Look forward, not back, especially if there's too much pain. My good girl has been gone for 10 months. It's every bit as hard on me as losing a parent or a sibling, probably more so. It's still hard. This year I've been almost fanatical in helping others, being a beacon to help dissipate my pain. It works, and it doesn't. Everything is different without her, but the stars still shine in the night sky because the universe is far bigger than just me. My role, our role, is in being the beacon for others. To some, this has been their best year ever when it comes to author revenue. I salute you and cheer you on to higher and higher levels. To others, they feel like they've lost their mojo. It's still there, only hidden in the shadows. Shine the light to show it the way back to where it belongs. If you need to, take the next month off from Facebook and the news. You'll be far healthier for it. The world is ending and the U.S. on the brink of civil war. But we're not. Believe what you see with your eyes and wave to your neighbors as you drive by, even if they're flying a Chelsea flag in the middle of Man U's home turf. We're all different, but we're all the same. Everyone needs a beacon to find their way, and everyone needs something to hold on to. A new home, a new job, a divorce, and so many things. Embrace the one constant in your life. Everything changes. Take control of what you can control and make it your foundation. Remember Pizza Friday? So many families had that. We did. One thing to hold on to. And then one more. And then your story. Soon, you'll find that what has changed isn't as debilitating. Look forward, because that is the direction you're going. Time gives us no other choice. Only our minds can hold us in the past, and only our minds can free us. The lightning rod. Desired leadership mindset. Sometimes you have to be the lightning rod and diffuse the bad energy. As the leader, you carry the full burden of everything your people do or don't do. If you think too hard about it, that responsibility will overwhelm you. In the Marine Corps, we had this strategic corporal. That one individual could cause an international incident through a misdeed or just the perception of a misdeed. Sometimes the smallest things can make a big difference. Defusing an incident quickly is important for any leader. In the Marines, there were international implications. The worst thing to do was blame the front lines. They could be corrected behind the scenes if their actions were against policy or procedure, but publicly, the leader had to stand up and take full responsibility while promising the powers that be it wouldn't happen again. Then there would be the necessary restitution. In one case, that meant hurrying the individual out of the country so they wouldn't be put in prison for the rest of their life for something that wasn't a crime in the U.S. but was where we were. For the leaders, it wasn't about them, it was about their people. When I was in Russia, one of our inspectors was snagged in a honeypot. He was single at the time, but they caught him unaware, and that innocent massage turned into a 90-minute video of hot passion. The Russian government officials summoned our office to look at the egregious damage done by one of our own. We were concerned until we saw what it was. High fives and cheers weren't exactly what our counterparts expected. No one cares. We had just seen that in President Bill Clinton's impeachment trial where we were in Russia, and we used their own words against them. It's just sex. The leaders diffused the situation because it had been artificially created in an attempt to exploit it. In this case, it was a diplomatic maneuver that found no traction because the leaders focused on the real issues at hand and refused to be distracted. Sometimes you need to be the lightning rod because your people need to vent. Give them a healthy forum for that, then move on. That's what empathy is all about. The sales unknowns during COVID-19. This is the one consolidated post for wondering about dips in sales, questioning your launch strategies, or learning that your chosen lifestyle is called quarantine. Who knows whether I should launch or not? The answer to that is no one knows. In my nonfiction books, I talk about building a readership and managing reader expectations. A solid group of fans will insulate you from other market pressures, including time-of-year drops. If you don't have a fan base built up, then that's what you need to do, regardless of whether there's a virus sweeping the world or not. How do you know if your book is any good or not if you don't put it out there? The greatest validation is from strangers in your genre reading your book. They will tell you through their actions or inactions, as in you'll get good reviews or no reviews. I estimate 1 in every 100 to 250 purchasers will leave a review. Your worst reviews will come from any free giveaways. Just accept that fact. Trolls and wayward souls live in free land. Should you delay your launch? No one knows. I surely am not, but I have a good base readership, and that gives me a nice launch regardless. It's what happens after that that matters. On Monday, my pre-order of the first in a new series goes live. I'll check to make sure that it is in Kindle Unlimited, and then I'm dropping the price to 99 cents for 1 to 2 weeks to put it in as many hands as possible. I've booked a great number of paid promotions starting Wednesday. I've worked a number of swaps with my peers. It is the most I've ever spent on a launch, and it is far and away the greatest effort I've made with a new book. I started all of that 2 months ago. Book 2 is on pre-order. Book 3 will be when Book 2 gets uploaded. It's my master hard launch plan in execution. I still expect sales, lots of sales because it has a way sexy cover and decent blurb. I'm not delaying anything because I have a good plan. Page reads will go up. I've been promoting the hell out of the 2 months of free Kindle Unlimited that Amazon is offering for newcomers. It is U.S. only, but that is the biggest market. Even if you're not in the U.S., bring those U.S. subscribers on board. Page value may drop, but reads go up. Then you may gain fans who will read your backlist or be jonesing for your next book when page values go back up. You must always be driving to gain new fans. Sometimes that comes at a cost, but you will always have a long-term financial windfall with any expanded fan base. If you are wide, see what Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Kobo are doing. Audible is letting child listeners enjoy children's books for free. How about that? And this is the sole thread for lamentations regarding sales or anxiety or other things out of your control. Maybe you can focus on what is in your control. Comment on that too. We'll remove all new threads regarding low sales during this time or launch heebie-jeebies because of quarantine or any of that which cannot be answered. Those create drama and friction. We don't need any of that, and neither do you. What about other controversial topics? Sometimes you need to take the heat generated by the project. There will be those who don't agree the project is worthwhile. When I worked in the oil industry, there were always protesters. The work crews performed admirably in the worst conditions. The company leadership stayed between the protesters and the work crews, being the lightning rod for negative press. The front lines appreciated it. They were shielded by those who didn't have it in their job description to have objects thrown at them. The leaders did it because they were in charge, and it was a small price to pay to keep the project moving forward. When criticism and heat come from on high, there is only one correct answer. It's my fault. You are the leader. You are responsible for everything your people do and what they don't do. You have to believe in them. If something goes awry, take the blame before you dig into it. Nearly everything can be fixed. I think my greatest leadership triumphs came when I was the intelligence officer for Marine Aircraft Group 11. I had 3 guys on my team who had been reduced in rank under non-judicial punishment. I also had 1 guy who had been court-martialed for theft of government property. I collected these broken people. I even used my coveted bider authority to transfer the one who had been court-martialed onto my team. Bider means by direction of the commanding officer. His authority was that of a colonel, and I was only a first lieutenant at the time. I used it on official letterhead. I didn't want to bother him with it, but I also didn't want to be told no since the sergeant's career was at stake. I got my ass chewed something fierce for that and lost my bider authority, but the colonel didn't hold it against me and did not reverse the order. He was later promoted to general, and we maintained cordial relations for the rest of my career. My team was an all-star collection of intelligence professionals. We looked like something out of Kelly's Heroes, but in the field, we always had communication, hot coffee, and the gouge, a marine aviation term for the inside scoop because we conducted as much internal intelligence gathering as external. We had staff meetings in my tent before the staff meetings because everyone came by for coffee and the latest gouge. When I was with a different unit deployed in the Middle East, the commanding officer suggested the Marines could use a drink. He challenged me to put together a party complete with booze. There was no doubt that I was going to make that happen. We contacted the Marine House at the U.S. Embassy, where alcohol was imported and kept on sovereign American territory. We checked out a bus from the motor pool and enjoyed a 90-minute liberty at the Marine House, where everyone was able to enjoy a libation of their choice. Or 3. I was surprised at the damage some guys could do in that short a time span. But we persevered, and I earned a Naval Commendation Medal from that deployment. I was the lightning rod because my team needed someone to believe in them. They were convinced early of how far I would go for them. Being the lightning rod from internal distractions is something every leader will experience. People get emotionally charged. Expect it. Divert, distract, and delay to dilute the emotional engagement that could blind people to the fuller picture, the big picture. Give them something else to see until their emotional high is tempered by time. Don't give people a chance to regret emotionally charged diatribes. Leaders have to save their people from themselves. Give them a different focus for a short while. During the emotionally charged events of the summer of 2020, we simply shut the 20 Books to 50K group down while the angry voices drifted away, having lost the target of their ire. When we reopened the group, we had post control turned on so no one could restart the drama. The hostile voices disappeared overnight. We no longer had to fight fires as the trolls tried to destroy us, tried to destroy a group that helps people of all shapes and sizes make a decent living by writing books, without caveats or discrimination of any sort. Sometimes there are more than two sides to an issue. I'm not with you, and I'm not against you. I'm doing this thing to help people earn a decent living. The two sides that were offered, neither gave me an option I could live with. I chose the third option, stayed above the fray, and let the emotions subside while we never stopped working. When those who were twisted with rage came back to themselves, we welcomed them. We never changed our goal of helping people provide for themselves and their families. We maintained our vision. In this instance, there was no value in being a lightning rod for a fight that was not ours. We came out much stronger than a great number of others who lost their way. Vision is critical, even if you take a few lightning strikes. Know where you're going, and you'll be able to keep moving forward. Expectations. Desired leadership mindset. Temper expectations. The vast majority of our grief comes from the difference between reality and expectations. Temper your expectations and help your people temper theirs. Of course, you plan to reach your goals, but the expectation of becoming a rock star while doing it has to be tempered. Take a critical look at your life and see where you were the angriest or saddest and what made that so. Maybe you expected a promotion at work and it went to someone else. Maybe you expected the person you liked to like you more. It's difficult to temper expectations because hoping for the best is a human default. I once heard someone say, "I always expect the worst and I'm never disappointed." I thought that was defeatist until I parsed it. Then I decided it was genius. If you expect the worst outcome, you can work to mitigate that. With expectations set for the worst, anything better than that is a positive. It might seem like a contrarian view, but if you expect the best outcome, anything less will be a disappointment. Don't be disappointed. Adjust and keep moving forward. The happiest people go with the flow, not because they don't care, but because they manage their expectations. It starts with getting up in the morning and welcoming a new day. You can be happy or not. It's your choice. As I get older, just waking up brings a certain amount of pain, but it lets me know I'm still on the right side of the dirt. I do my best to get the result I want, but when I don't, I use it as a learning point. What do I need to do to keep moving forward? As a leader, helping your people temper their expectations starts with setting a goal they can reach. I'm sure we've all heard the expression, "Aim for the stars, because if you miss, you'll land on the moon," or something like that. It starts with jumping off the ground, then getting into the sky, then to the upper atmosphere. You get the point. As a leader, you set the vision, but then temper the expectations to meet each new goal as you rise, until eventually the stars are within reach. From inch stones to milestones, understand where you are and keep your people from jumping ahead. Humanity likes shortcuts. Streamlining and process improvements are not shortcuts. They're good business. That is how you train your team. Motivational speeches need to have the foundation of a solid and implementable plan. Skip too many steps, and all of a sudden, your plan becomes wishful thinking. Nothing more than hope, and hope is a lousy plan. Your role is to keep people on track with their goals and their role in the group goals, based on a viable plan. That is what you need to communicate, day in, day out. I wrote this to the 20 Books to 50K group. We all have our issues, it's not just you, but there are ways to get out of a rut and keep moving forward. Being kind to yourself isn't the same as not pushing yourself when you know you need to push. But only you know that. Kick yourself in the pants if you need it, but don't if you don't. I hit max fry and managed 6,900 words written in 7 days, despite sitting at the keyboard for countless hours. My beta readers told me to shut my computer down. I finally listened and binged Deep Space Nine, and then a different new TV series, and a couple movies. I got back on track with 6,900 words written in 2 days. But that's me. For some with full-time jobs and families, 6,900 words could be a good month's work. Celebrate your good work as you only compete against yourself. If a 7K month is a good month, then have one of those every month and be satisfied with your progress. Most of our stress relates to expectations. If you expect 10,000 words and get 5,000, you're upset. But if you expect 3,000 and get 5,000, you're happy. Manage your expectations and the steps you take to meet them. Setting a goal is one thing, but the expectation is key. Don't set goals you can't reach. Getting 10,000 words in a day is a rare event for most people. I write every day and get 10,000 words far less than 1% of my writing days. There's a 99% chance to get less than 10,000 words. I never set a goal of 10,000 or even have expectations of 5,000, but on a good day with a well-thought-out scene, I can hit 5,000 before lunch. This goes to everything in your business. Make the steps to your goal the expectation and make them achievable. Work within your capabilities to get there. And most importantly, leverage what you're good at. Don't take that which is your archenemy and make it all you do for a week. That is setting yourself up for failure, punishing and torturing yourself. If you don't like something, take it in smaller, more palatable bites. Except peas. Even single bites of peas are disgusting. So change peas to snap beans and all is well. The rising tide. Desired leadership mindset. A rising tide lifts all boats. In the publishing industry, there is no zero-sum game. No one has to lose for you to win. When one author converts a TV watcher to a reader, all authors win because a person can read far more books than an individual author can write. Winning is a team sport where the only opponent is you and your drive to do a little better today than yesterday. As the leader of a rising tide, you cannot carry people since you'd sink. You need to all rise together. That means everyone carrying their own weight, improving their own performance. In the self-publishing world where we work as individuals, where we are responsible for all the elements of our businesses, how can that work? We're all in the same boat and recognize that we have a lot more in common than what separates us. Banding together to share what has worked for us, share access to our readers, and share our successes makes us all stronger. But the competition, some may shout. I'll say it again. People can read a lot more than we individually can write. There's never been access to books like we see today. In the past, budgets were limited, and people had to plan to buy the next hardback by their favorite author that came out. That business model is losing traction. More people are reading ebooks, and with Amazon's subscription-based model, they can read as many as they want for $10 a month, price as of February 2021. More and more people are reading. It is the cheapest entertainment out there. For my fellow authors in military science fiction or space opera and me, we share each other's new releases and the latest news about our books. It's us against the television watchers, not us against each other. Some might say that those who became the richest during the various gold rushes were those people who provided picks and shovels to the miners. That's partially true, because a good supply chain will benefit any business. As the mines dried up and the miners moved on, the supply companies remained, turned shovels into plows, and added seeds to their orders. They helped build a different generation of people whose labor provided for their families and the families of others. I live in Fairbanks, Alaska, where the riverboats brought the miners and their goods before those good people trudged inland. Their footprints are stamped all over this city, which was built to support them. Gold mines and dredges are still here, as is the city, But the only miners who remained were those who picked up another trade. They flexed and rose with the tide brought on by the gold rush. How does any of that apply to leadership? Helping others help themselves, showing what's possible, leading when it's a group of peers, and leading when it's about everyone in the group and not just you. Eschewing oneself. Desired leadership mindset. You are secondary to the group's goal. Trust is the new currency in leadership. Dr. John Blakey. Look at this as the sincerity of goals, no subterfuge. Some call it servant leadership. I prefer to think the leader is there to do a job that needs to be done. It might be more intellectual than what others on the team are tasked with. It might be more physical. In all cases, it is secondary to those who are moving the team forward. You can't carry them on your back. As much as you might think that's the right answer, it isn't. They have to buy into the vision, which requires that the vision not be about the leader. When it's about the leader and not the team, it might be narcissism or megalomania. I'm not here to make a clinical diagnosis for anyone, but no one needs to give it a name. You've all seen it. The leader who makes it all about him. Don't be that guy. Be the leader who convinces the team that the vision is worthy and the goals are attainable. The servant leader will go farther than anyone who is in charge for purely selfish reasons. No one is more committed than the leader. True, but that's not a reason to rub it in anyone's face. Be there working side by side with your team. Even if you are in different cities and working independently, you as the leader should show up when you said and ask good questions and measure progress, keeping the vision in sight as the team keeps moving forward. The only person on the team who doesn't matter as an individual is you, the leader. You become the face of the project, and you will feel the pressure of that burden. No one will be looking out for your needs, but they will. Your team will take care of you when you are present for them, when you are consistent, when you listen to their input, and when they feel valued. Demand nothing, accept what you've earned, even when you get nothing. Eschew yourself, and you'll find your rewards are far greater than anything you could have demanded from your team. If you have a higher boss who is watching, make sure you give your team the praise they deserve. Are intrinsic rewards worth it? Realizing success with a project is its own reward, and more so if you bring the entire team with you. You cross the finish line together. When I worked as a business consultant, we spent years working with corporate leaders in heavy industry. They had high-paying jobs that were merciless, yet when they hit the production line to have sincere conversations with the people in the supply chain, the planning team, the production team, and the delivery team, they saw a marked improvement in team performance. Being present has the greatest value, and making it about someone other than the person in charge helped to deliver extremely high-dollar projects on time and on budget. You can't demand respect. The only thing you can do is earn it, and once you have it, it's easily lost. Keeping the focus on the team will reduce your risk of running afoul of them. As long as everyone is moving forward together, when one stumbles, you hold each other up. It's a great concept, and even greater to see it work. The leader within is more than just you. It's everyone on your team. The group motivates itself. The leader is the catalyst by shining the light on what's possible. That's the beauty of eschewing yourself and living with good leadership principles. In the Marine Corps, getting promoted meant moving farther and farther back in the chow line. When I became an officer, we saved time by starting at the back of the line. We usually ate the scraps of whatever was left over. And it was okay, because when the rubber met the road, those who ate first did the heavy lifting. They needed to be ready. Contrary to popular opinion, officers did get their hands dirty, but not anywhere near as often as the lower ranks. Leading by example. Desired leadership mindset. Walk the walk. The worst leaders embrace the principle of do as I say, not as I do. The Marine Corps set that one straight in my first days. My drill instructors did everything they asked us to do, showing us how to do it. and they did it better and faster than we could imagine. It showed us what was possible. Every Marine needed to do his job and the job of the next 2 levels up the chain of command. It was the Marine way because when the chips were down, one never knew who was going to be available. So we learned it all, up, down, and sideways. And we were expected to be on our game at all times. The higher the rank, the more we had to play by the rules. That was why God created gunnery sergeants, so they could take care of anything that might be questionable without the officers getting involved, or knowing for that matter. You don't need to be a Marine to lead by example. In our author group, I write and I publish. I sell enough books every single day to maintain credibility in the industry. That's what it takes. What about a separate project where you are leading individuals across a variety of specialties? You listen to their input and do what's best for the whole team. No one knows everything, and none of us are as smart as all of us when we work together. There's never a time where knowing it all is helpful. Experience teaches that wisdom is being aware of what you don't know. Beware the person who pretends to be an expert in all things, for those are the ones who order others to do as they themselves wouldn't, because they can't. Otherwise, they would be able to help with the understanding of a task's key elements, what to avoid, what to look for. Sometimes the best thing a leader can do when managing a team of experts is to make sure the coffee is hot and the conditions are right, and then the person in charge has to facilitate the conversations. If that's you, you don't have to speak, only make sure that those doing the talking stay focused on the goal and true to the vision. If you have to make a decision, make it based on the best information available and move forward. If you have to change a decision because you now have information that calls for a different course of action, make the call. The challenge with this is you can't be changing your mind with each new day. You get one change. After that, you'll look like you're guessing. Don't let an artificial time constraint force you into making a too hasty decision. That is one of the many elements that comes into play. Assessing the information and deciding what's best is what leaders do. It helps when everyone has bought into the plan, or most anyway. What happens when the chips are down? I decided to write this book during the pandemic of 2020 because that was probably the greatest crisis most people would ever see in their lifetimes. A crisis is a window into one's soul. People had the opportunity to shine. Others would stay the course, and then there were the rest, many of whom became unhinged. If that was you, today is a new day. If that wasn't you, don't lord it over those who didn't do well during 2020, a year of crawling through broken glass for far too many. What did I do? Led by example. I donated money to those who were grossly impacted by the pandemic. My intent was to help struggling authors. That turned into a groundswell of donations. It was important for me to give what I gave because I wasn't impacted by the pandemic except that I saved a lot of money by not traveling. 2020 was a net positive in my cash flow. It wasn't a time to shepherd assets. It wasn't about, hey, look at me, I'm donating money. It was about doing right by my fellow humans. A lot of people joined me in that effort. We helped many through the hardest time of their lives. When it was all said and done, we had done more than we said. And then we started a hearty cheer of, get those books written, 2021 is a new year, because we were helping people to help themselves too. How does this relate to a production facility or even a school board meeting? Show up early and make sure you did the work. For the meeting, make sure you read what you were supposed to and you're prepared, that you are ready for conversations that might be contentious. What do we want? Then the hardest question to answer is, how do we get there? It doesn't hurt to say what you don't want. I'll talk about that later, but suffice it to say, your example is in knowing what you need to know for that moment in time. On the production line, it's about walking the safety walk and being able to have a conversation about what's important to those on the front line. Wear your hard hat, wear your safety glasses, show them why it's important. Walk the walk. Lead by example by being comfortable in your gear. It helps if it's a little bit dirty. Too many plant managers wear stuff that looks like it just came out of the gear locker. I still wear the coat I received as a gift in a plant. It is dirty and ripped, but it's my coat with my name embroidered on the front. It means the world to me. I could fit right back into the plant. It's a point of pride to get one's hands dirty with the people who are doing the work. I would sometimes help them clean up because it was a job that had to be done and one they didn't like very much. When I was in Korea as the senior Marine intelligence officer, I kept my ear to the ground and read everything I could that came across the channels. Many were limited distribution, with only a handful of people able to read information based on restricted forms of collection to limit the chance of inadvertent disclosure. The sources could lose their lives if the information was compromised. With the buildup of intelligence from across the spectrum, I came to a conclusion that no one else shared. Something was going to happen that night. I marched into the commanding officer's office and closed the door, interrupting other work he was doing. I briefed him on my conclusion. Although we had a limited role, he was armed with the information to discuss with the commander-in-chief at their next meeting. That night, a North Korean mini-sub filled with Special Forces personnel got tangled in a commercial fishing net. The Navy raced out there and helped drag the submarine into port. The 9 men inside died through murder-suicide before South Korean personnel could get inside. On a 1-year tour, that was the only time I briefed the colonel on an imminent threat. I earned credibility, which gave me a special place from which to lead intelligence personnel. Plus, that's what I was good at, reading mass quantities of disparate information to compile related points and draw a conclusion about future operations. Everyone has their special skills, and that is what you leverage as the leader of any team. You don't need to know it all. You only need to know who to ask. Leverage your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. That is what leading from the front is all about. There's also the part of you outside the workplace. Leading by example means retaining the respect you've earned in the workplace while not giving your team any reason to doubt you. Too many fall down in their private lives, and they wonder why their workforce remains skeptical of their motives. Everything you need to know about a person's integrity you can see on the golf course. This is a fundamental element of a person's being. Cheat at golf, cheat at life. I don't keep score on the course because for me, it's about getting outside, hitting the ball, and making a good shot or two. It's not about the score. That's what people can learn about me on the golf course. Be the good person you need to be. If people can't manage their personal lives, how can they be expected to manage anyone else's? Know that on any project where you're in charge, you are taking over at least one aspect of others' lives. Take the responsibility and lead by example in both private and public life. Something to ponder on your leadership journey. Taking action. Desired leadership mindset. Actions speak louder than words. Although you might judge yourself on your intent, everyone else will judge you on your actions. So, make your actions count. Do what needs to be done, whether it is visible or not. Working hard at something shouldn't look like you're flailing. That will get you judged more harshly than doing nothing. And that's why people spend so much time talking about a problem rather than defining and solving it. Why? People are afraid to be wrong. And no matter what, you'll have critics. Make no mistake, you will be judged. But it is important that you don't judge anyone else. It is human nature to judge people. Since you have to work in this world as it is, not as you wish it were, you have to keep your judgments to yourself while weathering the judging looks and unkind words of others, until your actions show what you are made of. As Lou Holtz said, when all is said and done, more will be said than done. Only you can change that paradigm. It takes doing and not talking. In the Marine Corps, there's not a great deal of talking that takes place. Much of what Marines do requires physical engagement, even for intelligence Marines. So much time spent wading through reports and staying in touch with the collectors in order to consume what they provide. Working angles and maintaining backdoor contacts because there were two separate lines of communication when it came to intelligence. The official chain, which was cumbersome and unresponsive, and the unofficial chain, which consisted of phone calls to buddies. All of that was taking action. Of course, we filed the formal requests in order to cover our butts, but then we made the phone calls. When I was with the Marine Air Group 11, MAG 11, I published the Air Intelligence Cookbook, and we sent hundreds of copies to intelligence shops worldwide. Everyone knew my name. When I called, they would talk to me. When I served, I was in motion from dawn to dusk. I was the first in the office and one of the last to leave. I was always engaged with the current team. On the staff, I was generally a follower, but with my team, I was the leader. It was my responsibility to complete whatever tasks we were given, and we did, as a team, and I was there with them every step of the way. Ask yourself how much time you spend thinking and how much time doing. You must think through the plan, and then it must become a plan of action. Many leaders sit around all day and talk, but they aren't you. You have a job to do. In the 20 Books to 50K author group, I talk about this a lot while also getting in my daily word count. I write every day and get a respectable number of words. I can't lead from the front if I'm not publishing. I can't be the lighthouse if I don't deal with the issues other authors encounter. When it comes to leading by example and taking action, the rising tide starts with me. Actions. I want to earn your respect through my actions. I get to say the words too, but I back them up. Fans of my fiction support me as well. It's important to me that I walk the walk, because actions speak louder than words. Asking questions. Desired leadership mindset. Ask to learn. Listen to move forward. A leader's most powerful tool is the willingness to ask questions. But you have to listen to the answers. Loyalty is built with people who feel listened to. And why not? None of us are as smart as all of us. Once you've delivered your vision, your people will have ideas that will help you and your team realize success. You don't have to build the engine. You have people for that. You only need to drive the boat, convincing the good people what their hard work will accomplish. But when you're driving the boat, you can't see what's happening aboard it. You can trust your instruments because they give a snapshot of what's going on. You can trust your people, too. Help give them the confidence to run what they are responsible for running. What if your power drops? Do you give it a little more gas and think nothing of it? Maybe you could ask the chief engineer if there is something going on. I suspect you'll get a great deal of information. Listen and support your people. I like this analogy because it works. Every system is made up of interdependent moving parts. When one changes, it affects all. In every group endeavor of my life, every contributing member of a team had to deliver on their part of the project. Here was how I shaped the conversation surrounding good questions with my fellow authors. You want to ask questions that elicit a conversation among professionals. Questions that start with, "So?" or "Have you heard?" are generally drama-inducing wastes of time. We seek a professional conversation about something that you personally know is real. Then you can bring that experience to bear to raise the value of the conversation. If you can answer a question with yes or no, it's a bad question, as it stifles the opportunity to learn. A binary question can be answered without conversation and can almost always be found with a minimum of research. Open-ended questions are best, especially when backed with other facts surrounding the issue. An example is talking about what you did and how it turned out based on your expectations, projections. Ask, "Where did I go wrong?" The more specific the question, the better the conversation, and the more likely the answer will solve your problem. The broadest questions have almost no value and are a significant drain on our members. "I wrote a book. Now what?" We decline all those questions. You need to help yourself before anyone else is willing to help you. We all have monumental workloads. No one has time to take on your workload, too. Learn your business to help you ask better questions. You don't have to love the business side. You only have to do it. And if your declined post makes you flounce out of here, then you need to take a good hard look at yourself to see if you're tough enough to work in this business. Better questions do that. The level of professionalism in any group is dependent upon the quality of the conversations. The questions are only the start. The willingness to listen is the catalyst for positive action. Listen to ask a new question, not to respond. Too many people are reloading before the speaker is done answering. You'll see journalists badger someone they are interviewing, never letting the person answer. This is annoying to watch and disingenuous. They want to fluster the interviewee. They want them to self-destruct and maybe admit to something sinister. But most of the time, the person simply gets irritated and storms off, which is good for ratings. Such questioning techniques have no place in business or in a civilized world. Make sure you don't devolve to that level. Remember, you're the positive one, the person the team looks up to as a good example of helping the team help you. Ask better questions, get better answers. Problem solving. Desired leadership mindset. Weigh risk versus reward. Solving a problem is easy, isn't it? The leader makes the decision, and the problem is fixed. Not so fast. There are 4 questions to ask when it comes to solving a problem. 1. What is the problem? 2. What is the impact on time? 3. Assess the risk to safety, people and/or equipment. 4. What is the cost? The most important element in solving a problem is defining it. A technique I like is beginning with the end in mind. I ask myself what a good resolution looks like. Can we pre-plan the solution to determine what it will take to resolve the problem? When I worked with the Department of Homeland Security, one of our biggest problems was throughput at an airport checkpoint. Being in Pittsburgh, we had access to some incredible resources, and one such was a business management group out of Carnegie Mellon University, CMU. They studied the checkpoint, and within a week, they put together a highly technical report that suggested the choke point was the passengers unloading their gear to go through the X-ray machine. We added tables in front of the machines for passengers to prepare, and we added informational signs. What you see nationwide in the United States started at Pittsburgh International, thanks to clearly defining the problem. After that, resolving it took little budget and some ingenuity to rearrange things without making anything permanent. We doubled our throughput, which cut passenger wait times in half without adding anything besides space and information. There were no recurring costs, and as with any governmental agency, it was important not to keep requesting more funds. We managed our budget well. And the CMU study? It was a class project and didn't cost us anything. Your tax dollars were put to good use. We looked at the issue closely to determine where the problem rested. To this day, passengers are the greatest holdup in going through a security checkpoint. The efforts to improve their engagement to expedite screening continue. In the authors group, my peers and I encounter an infinite number of problems. Many don't cost money to solve. They are problems in that they are perceptions of problems. I love the quote from Jack Sparrow, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not the problem that's the problem, it's your attitude about the problem. Almost all problems can be solved once they are broken down into smaller pieces. Solve the small problems, and the big problem won't seem so big. Starts with the definition. Sometimes solving the big problem makes the small problems go away. I don't have any other anecdotes about this because everything with a project or an effort is about solving a problem. I have no plot, then write out the plot. I have no book, then write the book. If you work at any job, you are working on problems that your labor is intended to resolve. Simple as that, from flipping burgers to designing the next generation spaceship. Problems need to be solved. Define exactly what the issue is, and then find the answer. It's what leaders do. It's what every human being does. Getting on the same page. Desired leadership mindset. Have a meeting that matters. Meetings are the bane of our existence, except when they are well run. Meetings are a conversation to determine a way forward. The meeting ends when the decision is made. Then the team puts those decisions into practice. Status meetings aren't action. Never confuse them with something productive. Status meetings are a testament to the boss not trusting their people enough to read statuses in an email. which reinforces that people won't read the email since you'll beat it to death at a meeting. Meetings that do not lead to actions are usually a waste of time. I've run my share of useless meetings. I apologize to all attendees for wasting those hours of their lives. Here are some general tips for a good meeting. 1. Know what decisions need to be made in order to move forward. That is your agenda. 2. Make sure the team members have the base information before the meeting. 3. Ask questions. Make sure everyone gets their say. 4. Consolidate and decide. Every group has meetings, every single one. Anytime you stop to talk about something, that's a meeting. When a sports team calls a timeout, that's a meeting. They have 30 seconds to 1 minute to make their point and adjust what their players are doing. Those are focused and on point. If you are leading a group of roadside cleanup volunteers, what do you do before you head into the ditch and start bagging trash? Safety check. Make sure everyone is wearing their high-vis vests. Roles and responsibilities. Who is putting the bags by the road for pickup? Who is carrying extra bags, and what happens if you run out? What do you do with heavier trash? How are you going to stay together as you move forward? How long will you be out there? How will you get back to your vehicles? There are a lot of questions for something that might be considered simple, but all of them can be handled quickly. Get everyone's verbal commitment to their place by having them reiterate what they'll do. That's called the brief back. It is also an impromptu action confirmation. Remember that meetings are supposed to result in actions. Otherwise, it's just a status update that you could have sent by email. Back to meetings. They have a greater impact if you get people involved. But as the leader, it's important not to let one person take over the meeting by delivering a War and Peace-length diatribe. If you set up the meeting's focus, we're here to finalize the implementation plan, anything that takes you off that topic gets tabled for later or never. Good points, Bob, but that takes us away from the main purpose of this meeting. Let's table that for a later conversation. And make that a conversation where Bob isn't costing everyone their valuable time. Only you. Because your job is to shield your team from the hailstorms so they can get their work done. One-on-one, you might be able to rein in the conversation to that which is most applicable. Then you'll have people who occasionally dispute the entire premise of the plan and the actions. If you have covered that ground before, it's apropos to say, "This is not the time. The decision has been made." Take the ball out of their court and press on. It might seem harsh, but if they feel that strongly about it, they can quit. If the person disputing it is your best player, it would make me question why you didn't listen to them earlier in the process. These are the challenges that you as the leader have to deal with. If you've done the hard work up front, defining the problem your team has to solve and building a good plan that all but one bought into, then you move forward. Sometimes there's a person who doesn't want to commit, ever. When those types are in charge, they will find ways to make sure it's someone else's fault if the project goes bad. Non-committal leaders are not the lightning rods their teams need. When I worked in heavy industry, I went to a plant to do the initial assessment to determine the value of the financial opportunity for process improvements. When I started conducting interviews, I found many employees were defensive and pointed fingers. Fear. They were afraid of being blamed for poor performance. The first thing I did was incorporate the culture of positive reinforcement and embrace the processes. The lowest performing individuals improved the most when they realized they weren't going to get punished, only left behind when it came time to give performance awards. The good news was that everyone could get one, and the baseline was their individual performance. We saw big improvements at the plant and a complete change of attitude. Meetings were better focused, although some rambled on far longer than they should have. But overall, we spent less time in the office and more time in the plant. In my assessment, I identified a 3.2% opportunity, which came out to over $1 million. After a year, we were able to improve the bottom line by a greater amount, as well as find an expanded market for certain custom products the plant was able to make. Good people did good work when they were on the same page. good people found opportunities for the whole plant to do better. That was a big win. I was proud of that team because it was all them. They only needed to see what they were capable of doing. It was the attitude about the problems and not the problems that were holding them back. The power of positive reinforcement. Desired leadership mindset. Positivity improves performance. Period. There are two types of people in the world: those who like positive reinforcement and those who won't admit they like it. What is positive reinforcement? It's a reward to encourage, at a basic human level, more of the recognized behavior. It is specific and unique to the receiver, from something as simple as a look in the eye, a firm handshake, and a sincere thank you, to giving someone an expensive gift. Positive reinforcement is limited only by your imagination, but it's important to keep it appropriate to the level of gratitude, as well as appropriate to the recipient. Simple is better when it comes to positive reinforcement. Don't give baseball tickets to someone who is not a fan. They might have cost you a lot and were important to you, but if they are not important to the recipient, you've wasted your effort. You won't get what you want, which is more of the behavior you were trying to reinforce. It works on everyone. Look at what you've seen people do with kids. If the curtain climbers whine enough, they get the candy bar. This reinforces whining, not the opposite. It is unfortunate that you allowed yourself to reinforce the wrong behavior. That is why participation trophies don't consistently deliver when it comes to behavior reinforcement. If everyone gets the same reward, its value decreases. If you target positive reinforcement specifically at the good actions you want to see more of, you'll be more likely to get them. Sincere gratitude costs nothing to give. Sprinkle it everywhere it is deserved. Look for reasons to thank people. Thank you for reworking that pipe fitting. Now it looks like it grew there. When telling someone thank you, be specific about why. When I was working in the corporate world, we had a great conversation about recognition for not missing any workdays. The plant manager didn't want to do it because he didn't want to reinforce minimum standards. Coming to work was the base minimum, approved absences notwithstanding. But there was a benefit in a group award, something the team could only accomplish together. There is such a thing as negative reinforcement, too. You didn't dry your swimsuit, and it's still wet when you need to wear it again. You're going to think long and hard before putting that thing on. If you touched a live wire and received a nice shock for your trouble, that teaches you not to touch bare wires. Reinforcement, both positive and negative, needs to happen as close to the behavior as possible. You want to subconsciously link the consequence with the action. Did good, got a cookie. It's how dogs are trained, and we should all aspire to be as straight up and loving as dogs. That's a tangent. Let's get back on track. If someone holds you down and touches you with the live wire to make you suffer for something you did, that's punishment. In the Marines, there was a fair bit of punishment when the powers that be thought a Marine needed an attitude adjustment. In the brig, take a stripe, lose a half-month's pay, you're busted. In my case, I was busted from Lance Corporal back to Private First Class, lost a little money, and got locked in my room for a while. The Marines look at it as breaking a wild stallion, but there's a big difference between reining one in and crushing their spirit. What did I learn from it? Not a damn thing. I learned that bureaucrats were little people who liked to lord their power over others. I think too many times the military resorts to punishment without exploring other avenues for behavior modification. Once I had the Article 15, non-judicial punishment, on my record, it made me a different Marine. In the end, it made me less naive. I stayed in the Corps and did what I could to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. I vowed not to let that happen again, and I did not use punishment on anyone who worked for me. Let me ask a couple of questions about punishment. As an adult, how do you feel when you are punished? It's demeaning, even if you think you deserve it. But how do you feel when others are punished? If you think they deserve it, do you cheer? What if you don't think they deserve to be punished? What does that do to morale? Good leaders shouldn't have to punish their people. Mediocre leaders should never punish their people. I see punishment as a refuge for weak leaders who use it to dominate others and bend them to their will. That's not the world of today. People have grown smarter and better. This is the 21st century. Join the modern world by helping people understand where the team is going, and they will join you because they believe in your vision. That doesn't mean you don't let people go. There are times when you have to. That's not punishment. That's reshaping your team and a completely different issue. Keep listening. A cancer. Desired leadership mindset. Is the person a cancer, or are you trying to take a shortcut? Every team has a naysayer, always negative. They bring morale down. When is the right time to let them go? This is the hardest conversation a leader will have. Winnie the Pooh always invited Eeyore along, despite the dark cloud he carried with him. The group didn't let him dampen their spirits, but imagine what they did for his, even if he didn't show it. The easy answer is to let them go, but how will the rest of the team handle that? Will they fear that they are next? They may not have the negative opinion of that person you do. You have to ask yourself, did you do all you could to change their attitude and bring them into the fold? Be honest, since the truth hurts. We tend to shy away from negative people. No one needs that when they're under pressure to deliver. We need an environment in which we can flourish. You're the leader. You're the one who has to create that environment. Firing people because they aren't sufficiently positive is bad form. Firing people for actively trying to undermine the team, that's a different issue. I've had to do it, and it sucks. But when the person truly is a cancer, after they're gone, you'll see a marked improvement in the team. Just like a doctor removing a tumor. Once it's out, no one needs to talk about it anymore. It's about the health of the patient, just like it was from the beginning. Same with a toxic individual. It's about the health of the team from start to finish. Do it right, and you win. Do it wrong, and you'll create a crack worse than what you thought you were fixing. So, how do you do it right? Have a conversation where it's not about the individual, but about the behaviors that aren't working for you. Tell that individual what you want and what you don't want. I'm not talking about, I want you to stop being a jerk. You can think that, but name-calling won't get you what you want. If they are underperforming on their job and creating more work for others, it requires conversations about expectations. They have to meet certain standards. You have to ask yourself whether you helped them understand what all that meant and set them up to win. The gotcha is something toxic people may try to use on you. The project plan is straightforward and we agreed to it. It doesn't help to have someone saying that it's stupid and won't work. What would help is hearing why you think that with details so we can mitigate those concerns. We'll do what it takes to move forward. Shaping a discussion in this manner is the best way to reduce conflict. The devil is in the details. What are the points that need to be addressed? Go after them, clarify them, or fix them. There is probably something you overlooked, even if it was as simple as the individual's role in the project. Is that nebulous enough for you? I went to a 3-day course that was designed to address how to have this conversation, and it was so long and so varied that I found the information unusable. The keys are to find the right questions ahead of time, and then work with the other person to answer them. What is the concern? What do you, the leader, want? What don't you, the leader, want? What is a shared path forward? You'll expend a great deal of emotional energy worrying about this and preparing for the conversation. It will distract you until you sit down and talk, and talking is what needs to happen, with both people getting their share of the conversation. If the person doesn't feel like they're being listened to, you will make no progress. Remember my first point back at the beginning of this book? This isn't about you. This is about your shared project. Even if it's just a Facebook group, you still have a shared goal you are trying to reach. One of the worst things you can do is to schedule a meeting. I need to talk with you in my office tomorrow morning. Go to the Kiss of Death chapter and see how you've just undermined yourself to the point that you might not recover. You've just given this other person a great deal of unnecessary anxiety. They'll think the worst possible thing. You will have a hard time recovering from making a person on your team suffer, even if it wasn't your intent. So don't do it. Settle it as soon as it becomes an issue. Then settle it some more until you are both sure it's settled. Fill the information void with something good. Give it your best shot before deciding the cancer will only grow and needs to be cut out. There is no coming back from kicking someone out. No number of apologies can make it better. When removing people becomes easy, you need to remove yourself too. You will have failed everyone who is counting on you to lead them. Give the hard people a fair share of your time. You need to make the time, and this is where the glamour of being in charge loses its luster. You work long hours, but people are counting on you. Then there are those who seem to be actively working against you. Put yourself in their shoes and try to understand how they see it. Empathy will help you over many hurdles. You can't be in a hurry with this, even if you're up against a deadline. That makes it even more important to have that conversation early, as soon as it seems like there will be a problem. See how I've circled back? Unleash the leader within and bring everyone on the team along. Helping someone get past their negativity to become a valuable member of the project will earn you more bonus points than any number of baseball tickets. Because it's not about you. It's about the project and keeping the team moving forward until they complete it. You can't buy loyalty, but once you've earned it, keep earning it. When they win, you win. That is what good leadership is about. The Kiss of Death. Desired leadership mindset. Don't let rage seize you in its ugly grasp. Say your emotions get the best of you and you start demeaning your team. What do you do now? Step aside because you're done. You never get to do this. Praise in public, punish in private. That saying has a lot of merit, not that punishment is a good leadership tool. You should avoid using it. Corrective actions are more likely to help make a difference. Punishment stops behaviors, all of them. If you have to punish someone, you need to have a serious talk privately, because worse problems might be coming. Public excoriations are like self-inflicted floggings. They only reflect poorly on the leader. They are the kiss of death. Shine a light on the behavior that's not helping the individual and the team, then work with that individual to change the behavior. Once again, do it privately. Don't have those conversations in public. There were times in my career when I wasn't easy to work with. The best leaders, those who deserved all the respect, would pull me aside and do exactly what I describe above. Your actions are taking us down the wrong road. Here's what I need you to do and why. We stood side by side to look at the goal together, then we'd step off afresh. Leaders don't get to melt down. Put on a strong face, even if you don't feel like it. You'll thank yourself later, and if it gets worse, get some outside help to talk you down off your ledge. The worst thing you can do for your team's morale is to have an emotional outburst. It could be difficult to recover from. Trust is hard-earned but easy to lose. Once it's gone, you'll have a hard time getting it back. You're the leader. You must be the one they look up to when it seems like nothing is working. Lighthouses don't get to quit working when the storm is at its worst, since that's when they are needed the most. The light shines just as bright during the daytime, but there's a lot of other light sharing the day. The darkness is when your light matters. But if you've crashed your people on the rocks, everything was for naught. Keep your cool. Now, a little louder to reinforce this point, keep your emotions under control. Leading with emotions is a losing proposition. You can't be all energy all the time. It's easier on your body and your soul to remain focused on the mission without getting lost in emotional turbulence. Your people will feel it. They might lose it. They might be giddy with success. I can't emphasize this enough. You never get to become unhinged if you're in charge. If you need to vent and yell, do it with a trusted friend. Don't do it with your team. Support them. Help them get back on track if they've lost their way. Cheer with them when they're happy. But never lose sight of your goal. If you can't see the goal, no one else will either. Be the leader, calm in the face of fire. Being passionate is a lot different from leading with emotions. Self-control is the difference. Passion can be focused because you are in charge of how you bring that passion to your efforts. When I'm feeling down, I don't wallow. I give something away to fans or colleagues. The older I get, the more I realize that having stuff is a pain. It's better to have less. I give away treasures from my past. I have cool stuff, at least in my mind, and it's okay if it goes to someone who can appreciate it, even if only for a short while. I do giveaways for readers of my books, but I saw this employed by a department head in a major production facility. He gave out raffle tickets to his project managers before we started the weekly staff meeting, and then at the end, he'd draw a number. The winner received something from his garage. He had a lot of stuff and was trying to draw down one gift at a time. We had great fun. He always remained stalwart no matter what was going on. He was a man I respect to this day. We were partnered for a golf tournament, and we won. That didn't hurt either, because both of us remained unperturbed under pressure. There was no pressure. We were on a golf course instead of at work. We earned the respect of our peers that day, too. It was a good time. Take nothing for granted. Be grateful for what you have, and don't lose your cool. There's too much at stake. When I worked for the Department of Homeland Security, they hired too many people. They saddled us with 750 employees. We put them to work and did the job. Then the headquarters in D.C. told us the bad news. We were overstaffed and needed to right-size the operation to 348. Right size. We embraced the term, but there was no getting around what it meant. More than half our workforce had to go, and those people, the unelected bureaucrats, put it all in our laps. Their problem became our problem with a single memo. We had a town hall with all the employees to make the announcement. It didn't go well because the bureaucrats from D.C. didn't have to deal with the pushback. They dropped the bomb and left. We implemented a number of initiatives. We built a roving team to help those airports that were terminally short. We helped people with their resumes. We encouraged people to look for other work while there was still time so there wouldn't be a gap in their pay. Then we implemented the one-and-done policy. Any rules infraction was a firing offense. We were given no other choice, and they made me deliver the bad news. Human Resources put me in that bind and left the entire burden on my shoulders. I became known to the workforce as the Angel of Death. I spent my last 6 months in that job in my office instead of out with the workforce. I was put in a position where no one could win. Performance wasn't good, morale was garbage, and we were putting people in the hospital from the extreme levels of stress, including me. They didn't carry me out of the airport, but I did get carried into the emergency room. I'm still bitter about that, even though it happened a long time ago. The right answer when I could no longer protect my people would have been for me to resign 6 months before I did. The end was inevitable. The information void. It's keeping the demons out of your people's faces unless there is bad news, and then it's about delivering it in the best possible way. When I failed to do that, I was finished. I had not failed before, and that was why I hung on, but it wasn't expedient for the government. They made us responsible for their mistake and then made us pay for it. That was when the employer became the cancer, and I excised myself. I could no longer be effective. Filling an information void. Desired leadership mindset. Don't allow a void to exist. When there is a lack of information, people will fill that void with the worst-case scenario until they can speculate to an even greater extreme. They'll embrace the worst thing they can imagine as if it's truth. This is the axiom I've lived my life by. Tell people everything you know as soon as you know it. Keeping secrets doesn't turn out well. Also, doing what you say you're going to do is the only way to build trust. Trust will always be fragile. I talk about that a lot in this book. You have to trust your leaders. You have to be trusted to be an effective leader. I always try to tell people what I know, but I have set the personal standard that I don't comment on rumors. I don't have to disprove a negative, but I can say what things are. In heavy industry, it was impending layoffs. It was cost-cutting measures. It seemed like those rippled through the company about once a year. It was too many rumors to be addressed, so we attended the crew briefs every morning. Everyone on the leadership team got out there. They'd talk about what was going on and be honest. If there was going to be a cost-cutting initiative, that came from the top to the whole company within a few hours of when the senior leadership was informed. By being consistent with the information flow, trust in the message grew, and the rumor mongers lost credibility. Those who loved negative rumors always had a small clique that listened, but it didn't infect the company, and people didn't waste a lot of time thinking about the rumors. What is the best way to cut costs? Ask the people working on the front lines. They can show you where there's waste. By keeping them engaged in the production conversation, you'll stay in a position to run a smooth operation. Make information sharing an everyday event. Give your people a place to see or hear the latest information. Avoid ambiguity because human beings have a tendency to select the worst of two interpretations. Some will select an option that doesn't exist and embrace it like they're drowning and holding onto a life preserver. Understand that will happen. All you can do is your best. The biggest challenge is not speculating when your people ask pointed questions. If you don't know, tell them. If you don't know but can't tell them, then tell them what it's not. Reduce the risk of the black hole swirling around your team. Then make sure they have plenty to keep them busy, idle hands and all that. You still have a job to do and goals to reach. Drama. If we could have a single day without a manufactured controversy or another source of outrage, that would be a pretty good day. You can make your own choice about being happy or not. Don't get sucked into the black hole. Drama will waste more company time than anything else. Whether it is from the rumor monger or two employees saying mean things about each other, there will always be something. Always. Keep your eye on the ball, to use a sports metaphor. Watch it all the way into your hands to make sure you catch it. Keep your team focused on that and away from the perception of an information void to save yourself the time and grief of dealing with the aftermath of misinformation. As the project grows, it will seem like you are always talking, rehashing the same information. Sometimes you have to. Make sure everyone maintains a single base of knowledge. That reduces the variety of interpretations, which shrinks the information void. Consistency is the armor that protects the project. On a side note, it's okay to say, "I don't know." If it's important for the project, then it's better to say, "I don't know, but I'll find out." Keep the void filled and your people working toward the goal. A leader's touch. Desired leadership mindset. Understand your reach. In the military, we look at this as sphere of control and sphere of influence. A leader had direct control over 3 to 5 people. That was it. These are the people who get the message first and understand it the best. They pass it down the chain. Pretty soon, everyone has gotten the word. Understand your role in your organization. There are corporate leaders who think they have direct control over 20, 30, even 100 people. And by control, I mean personal engagement where you understand each other at a foundational level. I don't mean robotic compliance with commands. That's not possible because you cannot carry on a direct and candid conversation with that many people. There isn't enough time in the day. If you're broadcasting your message, that's sphere of influence, not control. It's the difference between a pyramidal hierarchy and a flat one. In a flat organization, everyone gets the message at the same time. What if one person has a problem? You go deal with it. What if 3 people have problems? They will multiply if there is no one else to handle them. I'm a fan of pyramidal hierarchies because the ability to handle problems trickles down as well as gets filtered coming up the chain. By the time the issue gets to the top, there should be plenty of input on how to resolve it. Ask questions. Listen to the answers. Maintain the vision. This is you, the leader at your very best, leading, and if you have to, making the decision and moving forward. put the project before yourself. If you have a flat hierarchy, how do you problem solve? Find the specialists, the ones with the answer. Get out there and canvass the group. This is where a flat hierarchy breaks down. If you think you can do it all by email or message, you lose that personal touch, and your efforts fall into the realm of sphere of influence and out of your direct control. It's important to understand how far you can reach out and touch people. It's also important not to sell yourself short on your sphere of influence. In the writing group, I can send a message to 10,000 people at a time. It is a great thing that we can do with modern technology. With Zoom and social media videos, we can touch a lot of people at once and have a recurring impact as people watch our message at a time that's more convenient to them. It's the 21st century, and messages are stored forever, even if you don't want them to be. And that is an important point to keep in mind. When you step into the public eye, nothing is ever off the record. When you make a video, even if you delete it, there will be a copy out there somewhere. The worse it is, the more copies there will be. Leading is about delivering the right message in the right way. When you talk to an audience and not your inner circle, make sure you don't let your hair down. Be the person they need you to be. That's what your inner circle is for. Those 3 to 5 people who are closest to you and are helping you. Reality says that 5 people will be plenty taxing, and they are the extent of how far you want to reach before you start shorting everyone on time and effort. Stay in control, most especially of yourself. Champions. Desired leadership mindset. It's not who you are, but who you are surrounded by. From superhero to supervillain, they stayed in power because they were influential. They convinced their followers of the right path ahead. In the comics and graphic novels, we find supervillains surrounded by henchmen, while the hero acts alone. That's not how it is in the real world. Any successful person is surrounded by those who make him or her better. Period. Hey, if it weren't for me... Hold that thought. Remember when I started with the leadership premise that it wasn't about you, even though you are the lighthouse keeping the ships from crashing on the rocks? You are the glue holding the team together. You are running around trying to be all things to all people. Without you, this project might have died a quick and ugly death. You helped people make critical contributions to keep the project moving forward, but you needed the people who were implementing the plan. You needed them to buy into your vision. You aren't a team without a team. How can I relate that to being a self-published author? You needed your editor to give you her best effort. You needed the cover designer to bring perfection to the imagery. And you needed the fans to trust you to bring a good story. Without your support team delivering for you, there might not be a book, or it would only be a pale imitation of what it would have been with a good team supporting you. And your author peers. As you grow, your peer group will grow until you find yourself having casual conversations with international best-selling authors, because they were once like you. You are paying many of them to produce something for you. So what? You've never been let down by something you paid for? You've never seen workers at a day job giving less than their best effort? The real world is a miasma of emotional turmoil that often prevents people from working hard at what they've committed to, way too often. This is where you, as the leader, give them something greater than themselves to believe in. It's an opportunity for them to tune out of their everyday concerns and work towards something they can embrace and be happy to be a part of. From fans to loyal companions, do right by them, and they'll do right by you. Every leader needs their champions. Even in the Marine Corps, I deployed with people I wouldn't follow to the bathroom. Needless to say, those exercises suffered. The difference between the Marines and other places was that when the heat was on and things got real, everyone rose to the occasion. That didn't mean the lieutenant wasn't trying to get us killed, but that was when the gunnery sergeant pulled him aside to save him from himself, because we had good people. He didn't treat us like that, though, and he was hands-off too much. When he was hands-on, it wasn't good either. That highlights the point that leadership isn't something you turn on and off. Be present. Leaders stand apart while also standing with their teams. In the Marine Corps, it's called leading from the front, the first into battle, the first to face the enemy. The rest of the time, leadership doesn't involve your imminent death, and I hope it never does. But if the threat is that significant, leadership is more important than ever because a good leader will give hope. Everything I've put in this book applies. Leadership principles are universal. 5 stages of disbelief. Desired leadership mindset. Embrace your doubt. This is a very specific discussion about publishing a book, but if you look closely, you'll see that it parallels any new project. The track of self-publishing, also called the 5 stages of disbelief, which are healthy, by the way. We learn more from our mistakes than we do from our successes. Those who hit it big with their first book when they have no idea what they are doing are hard-pressed to replicate that success. Mine was a slow build to success. Took lots of books and adjustments over time to build an audience and keep them coming back. There are 2 tracks, a failure track and a success track, and they look identical. I believe you learn more from the failure track if you remain focused on a long-term goal. Stage 1, fear. It is the moment you hit publish and wonder how your book will be received, strangers reading your book and judging you by it. Stage 2, social proof. From the pit of despair to the peak of joy, you will dip and rise like waves crossing an angry ocean. The first review where someone liked your book. The first review where someone didn't. Sales. The dip to no sales. You'll be paralyzed by trying to produce the next book. You'll watch closely, waiting, wondering. Stage 3, analysis. What did I do right? More importantly, what did I do wrong? Input. Who do I listen to? What next? Stage 4, reluctant focus. You start putting together your plan for the next story, but there's a nagging in the back of your mind. You go back and forth between stages 2 and 3, looking for clues on how to adjust your next book. The writing, the covers, the hook, the marketing. Where is it lacking? And more importantly, what do you do about it? This is the key stage for long-term success. Stage 5, moving forward. If you have embraced failure, this is where you stop. You believe you're not good enough. You may not be, yet. Take the lessons and try something different. If you don't write another book, you will fail. For those who had unmitigated success, plow ahead. Have you learned the right lessons to make the next even better? Get it done, and you're back to fear. 2 might not be as good as 1. In fact, it might be bad. How harsh a blow will that be? Did you let your ego get the best of your good sense? I know this is small to some, but I made $10,000 my first month. What if you make $1,000 your second and nothing your third? Overconfidence is just as destructive as underconfidence. I believe everyone has a great story in them, a wealth of knowledge that is unique to them. Sharing that through a story or a nonfiction title is not intuitive. It takes practice with an eye toward self-improvement, which means you can't keep writing in a vacuum. That's more of the same, and it will get you the same result. 1 book with no sales will be 20 books with no sales if you don't do something different. Who do you listen to? The fans. The readers you think will most like your books. Sometimes you get it wrong. Those aren't your readers, but other genres might be. Once you find the right group, listen to them, but in a way where it's still you telling the story. Read books to fill the gaps in your knowledge. Are you going to be a professional? Then do what professionals do and study your trade. There is a low bar to entry in becoming a self-published author. The bar gets higher the farther you progress in your career. No one will love you until they do. Most of the time, they don't know you are there. Finding them is only a small part of the battle. If you found them, but they don't buy, what next? What went wrong? Stage 3, analysis. Put on your business hat and see what it takes to sell this product. But I only want to write. If so, prepare yourself to be in a constant state of unhappiness. Would you rather be unhappy for a few hours here and there while doing the business stuff to realize the joy of being a successful author? 20 Books to 50K shows you that the business stuff isn't bad. If you can write a book, you can learn the other things you need to know to sell it. Assume your first book could be better, but get it out there because you'll be the worst judge of whether it is good or not. Keep learning. Keep moving forward. Take control of your destiny. Would you rather be driving your vehicle where you want to go, or let someone else do the driving? I'd rather be in the driver's seat. It's where professionals sit. Self-care. Desired leadership mindset. You can't help others if you self-destruct. Eschewing yourself doesn't mean you don't matter. It means you don't put yourself at the top of the accolades pile. It also means you don't get to vent like others without worrying about repercussions. Eat well, sleep the right amount, and stay as fit as possible. Too many cast off everything else when they are in charge, leaving their bodies as mere shells of their former selves. I don't work out enough, but I avoid most junk food and processed sugar. There are a large number of books and online forums to better your physical condition. You don't have to look like an underwear model. You only need to provide your brain the right amount of energy to keep your wits about you. When you're weak and tired, you'll start making mistakes. Understand what it takes for you to be at your best, and then push those boundaries just a little. If you start working 20-hour days, you'll quickly find your physical health degenerating. The last thing you want to do is keel over when the team needs you most. No matter how fervent the pace, take breaks and give yourself enough downtime to recover your energy. 5 or 10 minutes an hour, whatever you can take to get back into the fight with a fresh mind and a fresh body. Because you matter. You have to make sure your people take their breaks too. At the end of the day, go home. Sometimes you can take work with you, but don't make it a habit unless that's what you've always done. Your thoughts become your words, which become your actions, which become your habits. Habits are how you set yourself up to succeed or fail. Make sure you embrace the right actions to develop the best habits. We take 10 minutes an hour, get some water, walk around a little, hit the restroom, and come back ready to go. Your words. Let them lead to good habits for both you and the team. I like to call the body a meat wagon for your brain. Treat it well so it can triumphantly carry your head around. As much as we like a strong body, it's the mind that says the words and plans the actions. It is the mind that drives the process forward. In Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management's Senior Executive Intensive Training course, physical fitness is a key aspect. Each day starts in the gym. Work hard if you want to work hard. Simple as that. Taking your physical health into account when assuming a leadership role is a key factor in helping you and your team realize success. Humility of individuality. Desired leadership mindset. You can always improve. Self-improvement is a forever journey. There can be no point in a leader's life where you think you are good enough that you don't have to work at it. You can shape your words better. You can anticipate the questions and answer them before they come. You could put your people more at ease. There are so many things that can be done better. The good news is that those on your team will be forgiving if they see you doing better with each new day. All it takes to be better is one small step at a time. The big scheme of life is infinite in its scope. You will never be the most better. It's important to embrace the mindset that you can always improve and keep striving toward it. Each night, I sit and review what I did during the day, where I upset myself with blurting incongenial words or taking less than admirable actions. I catalog it in my mind to keep a running tally. There have been fewer and fewer over the years, and what concerns me now is far less than what bothered me when I was younger. I still have a long way to go because this is about the journey. There is no ultimate destination for a leader. You will always have people look up to you in that role. Are you doing right by them and the project? Most importantly, are you doing right by yourself? As soon as you start thinking you're the cat's meow, it's the beginning of your downfall. It's time to regroup and challenge yourself and your team in a better way. Success on one mission is just that, a single data point, a foundation on which the rest is built. Don't let it be the sum total of your achievements. You didn't peak in high school. You had your whole adult life in front of you. It's time to make a difference in more lives than just yours. That is the point of this book. It's not about you, while being all about you. Your journey is yours alone, while supporting and being supported by your team. Dichotomies abound. Sometimes you'll feel like you're carrying your teammates on your shoulders. You'll feel like you're the one doing all the work. And you might be. That is where you need to find ways for the team to contribute without becoming dictatorial. It's the learning process of leading. It comes back to you. It's still about you. Where did you fail when it came to building the team, delivering the vision, or guiding the process as the team moved through inch stones toward the goal? Humility of individuality. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, find someone to carry you. That might be what your team has done. You carry them until you find a way for your team to crawl, then walk, and ultimately run. This is your chance to do better, to be better, right up to your last day. Be the leader you were meant to be. Desired leadership mindset. Embrace the role. Enjoy the ride. Being the leader in a big project isn't for everyone. It's not something you can jump into without ever having managed something before. We teach the ins, outs, and jiggly bits to our fellow authors in the 20 Books to 50K group. If you can write a book, you can do all the other stuff, but you won't know that until you do it. It's the same no matter what industry you're in. People generally work their way into leadership positions. Many times it's well-earned. Others, it's a mystery why one person was selected over another. Have you ever seen a good coworker move into a new role and all of a sudden they aren't doing well? Leadership is a different skill set, but one you can learn when you understand the basic principles I've put into this book. There's a wealth of doing the wrong things that ended up in here as the right stuff to do. My adult life would have been much better had I known then what I know now. It's never like that, though. I'm a science fiction author, so I understand that we can only move forward in time. You can never go back except when you learn how to keep moving forward. The greater good. Your people are the ones who will make it happen. Eschew yourself. So many ways to misstep as a leader, but sincerity, humility, and honesty are things no one can take away from you. If you've done right by your people, they will be more forgiving and help you help them. The process of nurturing delivers a greater yield to you, to your team, and ultimately to a successfully completed project. Even if the project is as simple as fixing a leaky faucet or as great as building a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, inspire, inform, and be greater than what you imagine. The power is in those who follow. Can the leader bring out the best in them? That is where the greatest leaders come from. They come from within when you deliver a vision that's worthy. Help establish individual goals that build to the team goal. Help your people realize the best within themselves, for the team and beyond. Bring out the leader within. We all have it inside us if only we remember one thing. It's not about us while being all about us. Author notes. I am a blue-collar author. I have a law degree, but that doesn't matter, not when it comes to writing. I'm retired from the Marine Corps, which means that no matter how bad things get, I've seen worse. And no matter how much I want to, I will never forget. That's one of the reasons I'm compelled to give back to the community I embrace as my own, the community of self-published authors. But that also means I've been given the opportunity to put the lessons I've learned over my lifetime into practice. Failure is a part of learning. I've had my ups and downs in the leadership positions I've filled over the decades. I still do, but I have a lot more ups than downs nowadays. I find the most joy in seeing others succeed. One team rising together. That's how I define success. Leadership is about the vision and inspiration, and that's what makes it different from management. Shout out to the review crew. Thank you all. You helped make this book better through your valuable input. Anyone who picks up Leader Within will be less confused because of you. I hope we've answered most, if not all, of your questions, while setting you on a better path for those who are counting on you. Peace, fellow humans. Craig Martell. This has been Leader Within by Craig Martell, narrated by Chris Abernathy. Copyright 2021 by Craig Martell Incorporated. Production copyright 2021 by Craig Martell Incorporated. All rights reserved.